With a yo-ho-ho, it's TaleOfTheToaster. Let's have another video about Inazuma 11 Victory Road. It's finally starting to settle in, you know. There is actually a new Inazuma 11 game coming out, possibly even this year, next year at the latest, so we've just got to talk about it. So I think one of the first things that come to mind when talking about this game, where you can recruit from over 4,000 different characters, including some for the very first time from the likes of Ares and Orion, and brand new original characters in the main story as well, alongside all of the others from the past, like Ozrock's second game. Let's go Galaxy fans. But yeah, it really opens the floodgates of when you have infinite choices, who do you use on your team? Well, for this video, I wanted to focus on the characters who I have not had a chance to play yet, because they have not been in a main release. They have all presumably been in Inazuma SD, the mobile game, but I never played that, and even if I had, it's not really the same experience. So this is going to be 5 characters that I would want to use in my run of Victory Road, even if it's not like my actual Let's Play, just people to use in my own time as soon as I've got the game. These are 5 characters that I'd want to use who have never been in a main game before. Now, instead of just doing a traditional top 5, I've instead kind of imagined, what if this was my 5-a-side team for the actual just in-game matches? So I've picked someone from all positions to actually make a balanced team of 5 that could potentially work together. So we'll start off with the goal, and that is going to be Dusk Grayling from Lunar Prime Academy. There's so many cool goalkeepers from Ares and Orion that we could be using, but I had to go a little bit mainstream here. I could go for the Brazilian guy who's got macaroni spaghetti as his goalkeeping move, and there's also a load of goalkeepers in Orion from the likes of Italy, and especially the captain of Saudi Arabia, because I forgot what he even looked like until I just stumbled across him today. He looks like an OC looking guy, and yet he's the captain of a whole team. Characters like that are really going to get their chance to breathe in this new Victory Road game. But I went with Dusk Grayling just because he was, in the end, one of my favourite characters from Ares and Orion. And there's going to be a lot of choices anyway. People will maybe be biting at the bullet to use Sandra, or to get Mark Evans back on their team now that he's not actually necessarily a main member of the cast. But Dusk Grayling has just so many moves that I want to use in practice. In particular with Mark's moveset in the game. I do mean Mark. He has like 30 different moves to choose from, and they've got to fit that into 4 or 6 slots. Stuff like Diamond the Hand probably just isn't even going to make it, because he's got too many moves to choose from across the entire Inazuma series. But Dusk Grayling, you know he's got 3 to 4 moves total, and they are all worthwhile, and some of them even reflect some of the missing moves. I may not get to use Diamond Hand with Mark, but I will get to use the Grabber Arm with Dusk Grayling, as long as they fix its element. But I think it'll be nice to have him on a team without Heathmore necessarily being there, and just make him one of the best goalkeepers in the game, because surely he will be. I'm going to skip defenders for now, we'll come to that at the end, and instead pick a midfielder for the team. So I either needed to pick 2 midfielders and 1 forward, or 2 forwards and 1 midfielder. I've ended up going for 1 midfielder who's a bit of a hybrid, but for now, the purest midfielder is going to be anyone from the Uzbekistan team in Orion. That seems a bit random. I couldn't even name one necessarily to choose in particular, but I'm sure I'll have all the options on screen. The captain is not who I would necessarily be leaning towards, because at the end of the day, with every playthrough of Inazuma 11, it's always good to just have someone really random on your team. Both a complete scout who's just a random encounter with no story relevance, but also just bit parts from FFI teams who spice up that new playthrough every time you want to go into an Inazuma game and just use a slightly different team. So the Eternal Dancers from Orion, I think they would be a great candidate to just pick someone random and turn them into your favourite character. Because in the show, they were done a little dirty in the sense that they have a really great theme. It's all about singing and music, like they have a piano goalkeeper. and their main striker has the song, the shot Requiem Dust, where he just sings the ball into the net. It's not the best, but like, other than Ricardo, we've not really explored music as a theme in Inazuma up to this point, and obviously Ricardo explored it very well, but to have a team that's based around music, that really excited me, and it was just a shame that within the context of Orion, they all had to be dirty, horrible cheaters who just wanted to bring out blades and cheat at football and make sure that Japan goes home in a body bag. So when you're in the context of a Victory Road playthrough where you can just kind of pick one of the guys, read their 2-sentence bio, and then just dump your own personality on them, I want to do that with just any Uzbekistan player from Eternal Dancers and use all of their music moves. Because the main thing is, even though their captain is a midfielder, as far as I'm aware, he never actually used a move in the show. I think in Inazuma SD, he's just randomly got Dash Accelerator, which has been around since Inazuma 1. So we've seen a music-themed goalkeeping move, we've seen a music-themed shot, but there must be more, right? They must have prepared for all of the positions with some kind of musical move, and I just want to see it on someone random. I always think back to when I'm playing Inazuma 3, you can get any player from Qatar before going into the main story, and I always made sure to pick one. And then one of the guys, he talked about fixing his country by getting more oil or whatever. It was the most typical thing you could make up. But I just gave him Planet Shield, and then he ended up being one of my favourite players on the squad. Even if I can't name him right now, he was in my top 100 characters video. So I think the Eternal Dancers would be a great pick to do that with. So for my player who bridges the gap between the midfield and being a forward, someone who can function as either, I want to go with Perseus, or Percy Hurst from Zeus Junior High in Ares. He can definitely bridge that gap because he's officially a forward, but he played in midfield within the actual match against Ryman. He did score in that match, but he did it from a very backwards position of the pitch, which just kind of goes unnoticed. I don't know why he was that far back, because it's not like Aphrodite was being a forward either, not until Orion anyway. Despite that, I love this guy! When Zeus came back for Ares with a couple of new first years, like the goalkeeper was just a copy and paste of the old one, just with some very slight differences to say, well, he's a third year, so he's got to go, but we didn't prepare for this eventuality. But the two new characters, Hades and Perseus, they had so much love poured into them. They were very classic designs, but with that modern touch to just make them appealing, and so that they could go on the Inazuma 11 licenses and just look the part. And Percy Hurst delivers on that so well. His move, Celestial Soar, is not the flashiest thing in the world, but it's that kind of thing where you could spam it over and over again in a story playthrough and not get too tired of it, because at least it'll be powerful enough and it doesn't take that much of your time. I think I could just totally see him at home on a team like this. But I think the main reason I would want to use someone like Percy Hurst is that this is the 7th Inazuma 11 game now, and we have never had a chance to use a Zeus player during the main story other than Aphrodite, who was playable in the main story of Inazuma 11 3, and specifically in Inazuma 11 Go Galaxy Big Bang. If you're playing Supernova, then you were pot out of luck. But basically Inazuma 3 is your only chance to use Aphrodite in a main story. I actually did that in my main Let's Play, and it was the first time I'd ever used a Zeus player in a playthrough. If you even go back to Inazuma 11 1, you can't recruit the Zeus players at all. And that's the game where they'd be most relevant. Like, even by Inazuma 2, oh, well, we've got all of these Alias Academy players to recruit now, why would I want Zeus? And it was still, like, crazy hard and well within the post-game. But Victory Road is a great opportunity to actually say, you know what, it doesn't have to be early on, but during the main story, you can just have anyone from Zeus that you like. They're not broken anymore. And why not do that with the new character, Percy Hurst? So next up for my main forward, I'm going to go for a main character, and this will be Basil Hardy. But specifically, the version from Orion, where he's all grown up and looks like a complete Axel Blaze ripoff. not the one from Ares who just spammed Fire Tornado for the entire game. Basil Hardy is overall not that popular of a character. This is Kazomaru, to drop in a Japanese name, but whenever I talk to people on Twitter or in the YouTube comments about the new Basil Hardy, they say, oh, he fell off, or oh, I preferred the old one, or they just dislike both. I don't really know many people who specifically like the new Basil Hardy, the one who looks so much like Axel Blaze, but I love him! He was one of my favourite aspects of all of Orion. It's just silly at the end of the day, the fact that he looks almost exactly like Axel Blaze, but with some of the unique design quirks that made the old Basil so cool. I love his eyes. It's just a way to fix what I saw as a not that great of a character. Like, he was okay in Ares Season 1. He was introduced as a bit of a dick, like he was being mean to everyone, but it quickly cleared up. Like, he had a conflict with the team, then they just forgave him off screen, and then they got along after that and made a load of special moves together, and then his only solo shot was Fire Tornado until the very, very end. I did not like him very much at all. But then when they brought him back for Orion, I was like, oh, are we really going to deal with this guy again? And then I just looked at him and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what they've done. Apparently nobody likes this guy, so they've turned him into a joke, and they've completely rewrote his character to just be as blatant of an Axel ripoff as possible, and I think that is just funny. The whole switch on gimmick, I don't think they can make that work in the games, but maybe they can. Then it's at least a fundamentally unique character to use on my team. But above all, I just want to use Overcyclone. It's, at this point, I think possibly my second favourite shooting move, behind only Radiation Storm! Behind Stargazer, of course. It's either competing with joke moves like Acrobat Bomber, and I guess Overcyclone is kind of a joke move as well, but with all the power and prestige of a serious shot as well. Yes, it is a complete rip-off of Last Resort, but Last Resort is extremely cool, and I don't want to just use Axel on my team to have access to that move. I want to use the knockoff Axel and use his knockoff Last Resort, which I like even more anyway. It's such a strange way to adapt the move. It's all the same motions, but they just make it nature themed and have a stampede of animals at the end. I absolutely, from the moment I first saw it, I loved Overcyclone. I even forgot that eventually Basil Hardy does do the real Last Resort at one point in the series. Like, did you remember that? I didn't until fairly recently, because I was just so focused on Overcyclone being one of my favourite moves ever, and let me get in a competition route and beat up the level 99 teams using this move, please. But if Basil Hardy is going to be my level 99 matches shout, then my final pick for the team, my defender, is going to be much the opposite of that. First of all, we'll do a little honourable mention, because there is another defender that I would really, really want to use, but I didn't have space for two defenders on my little five-a-side squad, but that would be Ares, or Mizukamiya. You may remember from my top 100 characters video, and pretty much any Ares review video I did, that this guy is one of my favourite characters just of all time. He made my top 10 characters. I made every Ares video about him, no matter how relevant he was, I made him the point of discussion. I love his design. I love he's the one defender in Orion who actually makes a match progress forward and shows us some tactics and some actual defending. He has a great dynamic with Elliot, but at the end of the day, he's not going to be part of the story in Victory Road. He will just be someone that we use. And his actual defensive move, Containment Zone, is a bit weird. Like, I can never forget the time in the anime where we saw him use the move and it succeeded, but also achieved nothing whatsoever. So he will be the honourable mention. I would want to use him, but for my single choice of defender on this squad, I am going with Kiko Calavento from the Ryman team in Ares. And the reasoning for this is kind of similar to Percy Hurst, namely, Ares never got a video game. It was meant to have one. Victory Road is built upon the game that was meant to be an Ares game, or at least in a very distant kind of way. They seem pretty different now, but outside of a little bit of Inazuma SD, where it's like, it's a gacha game, why wouldn't you just pull the best characters straight away and use them? We've never had a chance to use anyone from the Ryman team in Ares. And there's not too many of them that I'm that excited to use, really. Like, you can go ahead and have your team of Arian, Sunny, Mark, and Unmei all at once and just use the protagonist squad, but the one that I took a liking to from the moment I tuned into episode 1 of Ares was Kiko. I loved his flat cap, I loved the whole of his casual attire, and he didn't even need to speak before he was my favourite. I kept a close eye on him throughout the season going by, and in the end, the only defensive move that he got solo, Twister Trap, was rubbish. I really didn't like it. I was very disappointed. But I think that the game could fix that up. You could have Twister Trap as a very low-cost defensive move that he gets right away, and then maybe you could give him something new at higher levels and give him a second chance at redemption. But it's also those lower levels that I'm most bothered about, because the main thing I want to see from Victory Road is that actually recruiting characters from the past, yes, it's going to involve some level of PAL packing, but please balance this so that you can actually get characters during the main story, even if you're getting them in Chronicle mode and then you carry them across. Or, I don't know, maybe they are just exclusive to Chronicle mode and you can't use them in the story, but at least let me get access to some characters straight away and don't just gatekeep me behind, oh, sorry, you need this item from a competition route that's locked behind the final boss. Sorry, you don't get to use Monkey from Wild Junior High. You know, you're not cut out for that yet. I want to make sure that in Victory Road, the Ares team from, well, the Ryman team from Ares are available pretty much straight away. They never got that game where you actually played as them, so this should be like a surrogate opportunity to do so. Yes, Victory Road has its new team of protagonists, but you should still have the option to recruit from the Ares team pretty much straight away, and Kiko Calavento is the one that I want to use in my team as a defender. I love him. I don't have enough reason to love him yet, but if I use him in-game, I'm sure it will all come together and he'll only keep climbing up the ranks for me. But that is it for my 5. We've got 2 forwards, a midfielder, a goalkeeper, and a defender. But who would you like to use in this situation? Can you tell me 5, 10 maybe characters that you really want to use in Victory Road? And what are the reasons? Is it something like Percy Hurst being a first chance to use Zeus, or Kiko being a chance to get a useful character from the past in like chapter 1, 2 or 3? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to make a video about on the topic of Inazuma 11 Victory Road. And before you know it, we'll be playing the game together. See you in another one.